British chapter Eamon Gilmore, without interruption, of course, without interruption. Yeah, without interruption.
Cancorla. The Taoiseach said yesterday that he didn't know the identity of the 10 wealthy investors who constituted the Golden Circle in Anglo-Irish Bank. Can I ask him if he has found out since who these 10 are? When is he going to find out? When is he going to tell us? Because told we must be, because the people now own this bank and we're stuck with the 300 million that they gambled recklessly in that bank. We must be told the identity of this Golden Circle. They must be named. The Taoiseach also said something very interesting yesterday. He told us that he and his department, when he was Minister for Finance, the regulator, became aware of what he called the overhang of the Quinn interest in Anglo-Irish banks in March of last year, and that they concluded that it was a source of instability in the bank. That overhang was assembled by the Quinn Group using a method known as contracts for difference. Contracts for difference is an arrangement whereby you don't actually buy the shares, you effectively gamble on the share. You buy an interest in whether or not the share goes up or goes down. Now, why would somebody use contract for difference to acquire an interest in a bank or in any body rather than actually buying the shares? One of the reasons is that contracts for difference have a different tax treatment to purchasing shares. If you buy shares, you pay stamp duty on the shares. If you buy contracts for difference, you don't pay stamp duty. Now, the Revenue Commissioners rumbled this back in 2006. And on St. Patrick's Day in 2006, the Revenue Commissioners issued a compliance notice to the effect that contracts for difference would have to be subject to stamp duty. Within days, you, as Minister for Finance, caused the Revenue Commissioners to reverse that decision and to withdraw the compliance notice. You did so after being lobbied. We know you were lobbied because in reply to questions from Deputy Joan Burton and Deputy Pat Rabbitte shortly after that, you acknowledged that you were lobbied. Now, the day after the compliance notice was withdrawn, the shares in Anglo-Irish Bank increased by 30 cents. And 3.7 million shares in Anglo-Irish Bank were traded on the day after the compliance notice was withdrawn. Now, Taoiseach, my question to you this morning is, will you tell the House who lobbied you in March of 2006, which caused you to direct the Revenue Commissioners to withdraw its compliance notice days after it had issued, and which caused a situation to continue whereby trading in contracts for difference continued without tax liability, resulting in the overhang of Quinn shares in Anglo-Irish Bank, among other things, which of course has now led to the what you called yesterday the instability in Anglo-Irish Bank and all of the consequences that have since flown with it, with the disastrous consequences for our banking system and for the economy.
Dr. Gilmore.
Well, the Taoiseach has said that he will provide the information to me in relation to what happened in 2006. And just to remind him that the information that I am seeking is the identity of those who lobbied him in 2006 to cause him within days to reverse the decision by the Revenue Commissioners to issue notices of compliance for contracts for difference. And I look, and let's see. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that it is of such insignificance that it has entirely escaped your mind, because can I quote to you? What a commentator said at the time. John McManus, writing in the business opinion in the Irish Times on the 3rd of April 2006, days after the decision was made. This is what he said. He said, the idea that the Minister for Finance should actually condone favourable tax treatment of this type of investment over plain vanilla share buying is hard to defend. And the fact that between 20 and 50% of the trades done in Dublin are done via CFDs should actually set the alarm bells ringing in Merrion Street. The department should be asking themselves what will happen to all these leveraged investors when the inevitable downturn in the market comes. Well, that was very prescient, because now we know what has happened to all those investors, and we know what has happened to the banks now that the downturn has come. The overhang of Quinn shares in Anglo-Irish Bank, which you described yesterday as causing instability in the bank, brought about a situation where that bank ended up having to be nationalised, where our entire banking system has been put at risk, and where repeated efforts have had to be made to restore it and to restore confidence in it, where tens of thousands of people in our economy are losing their jobs as a result of a lack of credit being extended to them, and as a result of what is happening both in banking and in the economy. That's the consequence of it. That's what you were being warned about, by this commentator anyway, in 2006. It was also what you were being warned about by Deputy Burton in 2006 when she raised this very issue with you. And while you this morning and ministers from the government over the last few days who've been put out on media are trying to spin this line that something untoward was going on in the banks, that you only discovered it lately, and that you're trying to sort it out, and that this is the government acting tough with the banks. The fact of the matter is, Taoiseach, is that your stewardship, your own stewardship as Minister for Finance, has contributed to the hole that we are now in economically. You were at the heart of it. You reversed a decision that the Revenue Commissioners decided these things should be taxed. Up to 40–50% of transactions were being done under this business. It was a form of gambling. These were people who were taking risks, gambling with the economy, gambling with shares. And why wouldn't they? They didn't have to pay tax on it. There was no stamp duty being leveraged. If they had to buy the shares, they'd have to pay the stamp duty. Revenue Commissioner says they should. You responded to lobbying from somewhere that you have yet to tell us, which reversed the Revenue Commissioner's decision, and they carried on partying, as Charlie McCreevy would say. And now we know the result. The banks are in trouble, the economy is in trouble, and you were the Minister for Finance who was charged with the stewardship of this at the time. At very least, you were unwise in the decisions that you made, and at worst, you weren't doing your job.